So today's quite interesting. I've got something coming, a wee delivery. First, lots of paperwork to do. So as promised, I've got a little surprise. I've got Glasgow Community Food Network to deliver me a veg box. Well, just a random box. I've got to create one, if not a couple of dishes, and see what I can come up with. So let's go through what I've got. So in my box I had some purple celery, some rhubarb, some runner beans, super vibrant, some mixed tomatoes, mixed herbs, some parsley, some kale, lovage, some spring onions, apples, Hungarian wax chilies, some cucumber, a shark fin melon, and some microgreens. The Chef's Challenge 2020 is a friendly competition and is part of an ongoing campaign from the Glasgow Community Food Network to get more locally sourced seasonal food onto the plates of Glaswegians. So my plan of action is to start writing things down. I'll go on Google, have a look at some ideas, and I'm just going to have to take it from there. I'm allowed to use some things that are local. I can use local eggs, but I couldn't use something that's from Spain or Italy. So I've got a bit of leeway to make something. It just jumped in my head. You took the seeds from that and some parsley. You can maybe make a pesto. Right there is an idea. So day 2 and it's time to make stuff. I've got 5 recipes or 5 components I'm going to try and make. I'm going to try and do a broth, do a pavlova, a wee souffle. I don't know if it breaks the rules or not using the flour, but we'll give it a go. Tossed a little jam using the tomatoes and the chilli. Here it goes. So the first job on the list is to make a green oil using the parsley, the kale and the celery tops. I'm going to blanch them into hot water, but before I do that I need to make sure I've got an ice bath ready. In a fiercely boiling pot of water I'm going to blanch my herbs for no more than 30 seconds. After that I'm going to plunge them into an ice bath to stop them cooking. That way to keep that great colour. Then because oil and water doesn't get on, I'm going to pat it dry and let it sit for an hour or so. Then I'll thermomix it, and then I decide, which I don't film, to packetise it. So I put it in a packetised beaker, freeze it, and then blitz it the next day, and the colour is just fantastic. So I'd never heard of a shark fin melon before. I assumed it was just a normal melon, but in actual fact it's a squash and it has more of a cucumber taste. And the centre of it, the very centre, glows almost like noodles. It's quite bizarre but really cool. I'm going to roast off both the Hungarian wax chilies on the char grill. A little bit of salt, pepper and oil, and then one's going to go into my tomato and chilli jam. The other is going to go with the shark fin melon and help to flavour my consommé. So because there's no onion in the box, I'm going to use the whites of the spring onion, slice them up, saute them off in the pan with a little bit of oil, salt and pepper to add flavour. Here we have the shark fin melon. You can see here that the inside, the very inside, is quite stringy like, and it'll go like noodles, so it'll look really cool in the dish. Wow, check the colour of those out. I decided to roast off some of the larger pieces of the shark fin melon to add some flavour, because when you taste it raw, there's not a lot of flavour to it. To make the consommé, I'm sweating off the spring onions with the rosemary and bay leaf. After a couple of minutes, I'm adding in the shark fin melon, and I'm also adding in the water that I used to blanch the herbs. I've just given it a little double strain. I'm then adding in the Hungarian wax chilli. And then, although I've not filmed it, I also add in another 3 litres of water. To make the jam, I'm going to use some of the tomatoes, not all of them, the celery, which is actually purple celery, never seen that before, a little sprinkle of soft dark brown sugar, one of the Hungarian wax chilies, and some raspberry wine vinegar. To make the pavlova, we need 4 egg whites, 250 grams of caster sugar, 1 teaspoon of white wine vinegar, 1 teaspoon of corn flour, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. You want to preheat the oven to 130 degrees Celsius. Then you're going to whisk the egg whites until they form stiff peaks. Now, you would usually use an electric whisk. Ours is broken, so I'm stuck doing it by hand. Once they form stiff peaks though, you're going to add in 1 tablespoonful of the caster sugar at a time until they're nice, thick and glossy. The next step is we're going to add in our corn flour, give that a really good mix. Then after that we're going to add in our white wine vinegar, again give that another good mix along with the vanilla extract. I'm going to put a dollop of the meringue mixture in each corner of the tray, and that's going to stop the greaseproof from moving around while it's in the oven. We're then going to get a nice shape, whatever we want, on the tray, and then, just as a little curveball, just to make things interesting, I'm going to accidentally spill water all over my meringues and have to do it all over again. I was furious, and as you can see, I also forgot to put the meringue mixture back under the tray to stop it from moving around in the oven, but it ended up alright. Here I'm just going to roast off some tomatoes with some rosemary, salt, pepper and oil, and that's going to garnish both the souffle and the consommé. Quick update, I am currently now making the souffle, or I'm about to start making the souffle, and I'm using the lovage, rosemary, the bay leaf. I'm also going to put a little bit of mull cheddar, so it's still Scottish. It's not exactly from Glasgow, but it's still Scottish. To make the souffle, I am using 450 ml of milk which has been infused with bay leaf and rosemary, gradually adding that to my roux until it's nice, smooth and velvety. Then adding 250 grams of mull cheddar cheese, letting that cool down slightly, then adding in my spring onion and lovage, then adding in my egg yolks, giving that a good mix, and I'm going to let that cool while I whisk my egg whites. So we're going to add in roughly a third of the egg white, mix that nice and gentle so as not to burst out any of the air, then add in the rest of the egg. We're then going to add that mixture into our ramekins that I've lined with some butter and some mull cheddar. Then bake in the oven at 190 degrees Celsius for roughly 10 to 12 minutes in a bain-marie. So the souffles are out of the oven. The sunk, which is supposed to happen, they look a bit sad and all upsetting right now, but because they're twice baked, when they go back in the oven, they puff back up again. So we're okay. So I'm going to let these cool down, and then tomorrow, when they come to judge it, put them back in the oven for like 5 minutes. They should puff back up again, and then we're good to go. The next thing is I've frozen my liquid from the melon, or the shark fin melon. I'm going to put it into some blue cloth, and I'm going to let that defrost overnight, so when I come in tomorrow, it might need a little bit longer, but when I come in tomorrow it should be crystal clear. That's the plan. So I'll see you tomorrow. Right, it's day off, time to get stuff done. I have my souffles are ready. I have the pavlovas, although I'm thinking of redoing them, and the broth. So time to put things together. So you can see that all that's left is the impurities and a little bit of ice, but everything else is completely clear on the other side, as I'll show you now. That's worked out perfectly. Before freezing down the liquid, I have strained everything off. So the parts of the shark fin melon that look noodly, they're actually still attached to a part, and it's weird, it almost looks like a spine or bones. It's kind of strange to look at. So then I've diced up my chilies, I've diced up the shark fin melon that was cubed, and I've sliced up some spring onions. So that's most of the garnish ready to go, just a couple other bits to finish off. Unfortunately, I've not been able to film everything that I've done because I've been doing this in the middle of service as well. So that there is actually the only picture I have of the jam that I made. So the last step is to prepare the garnish for the pavlova. I'm going to make a stock syrup using equal quantities of sugar and water, put that on the stove and bring to the boil. Once it comes to the boil, I'm going to take it off the heat and then add in the fruit. I'm going to keep the apple separate so they don't pick up the colour from the rhubarb. Now you could add in grenadine to the rhubarb to make the colour much stronger, but I didn't feel like that was in the spirit of the competition. With the apple, I also used half of it for a puree. So the pavlova sat in a bed of puree and the apple that was poached in the syrup got coated in the puree as well. So the time has come, the judges are here. I have all my stuff sort of ready, sitting. I don't know if you can see that. It's just time to get things hot and fingers crossed. I'd like to say a special thanks to Grant Reekie from That's Your Dinner and the Glasgow Food Community for organising this year's competition. Also Lucy from Slow Food Glasgow as my judge. A massive congratulations to this year's winner, John Traynor from Undercover Dinner Society. And also thank you so much to everyone else who took part in the organising and donations for this year's competition.